All right, so this video is going to cover what we did in class on Monday, February 4th. Okay, so the first thing we did was we talked about the warm-up. So we talked about a double number line diagram. So find your packet. Problem 1 says complete the double number line diagram with the missing numbers. So for example, you're going to say what numbers needs to go along this number line. So right now this is where I need you to pause. Okay, so now that you've unpaused, you know that you did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, okay, and then 10. Now you need to fill in the bottom number line. Again, this is where you can pause till you get your answers. And now that you unpause, you know that halfway between 0 and 1 is a half. 1, so that means each one of these is counting a half. So this is going to be 1 and 1/2. 2, 2 and a half, 3, 3 and 1/2, 4, 4 and a half, and then 5. So now we filled in the missing numbers on a double number line, and it says, what could each of the number lines represent? Invent a situation and label the diagram. So this is going to be hot water, and this is going to be cocoa mix. So Miss Wesley's invented situation is hot water cocoa mix. Feel free to use your own situation. So for every 1 cup of hot water, we're going to use half a scoop of hot cocoa mix. And part 3 says, make sure your labels include appropriate units of measure. So this is hot water, it's going to be in cups. And my cocoa mix is going to be in scoops. Could also have said like tablespoons. Okay. So now, mystery mixtures. Your teacher will show you 3 mixtures. 2 taste the same and 1 is different. Which mixture tastes different? Describe how it's different. So because this is on the computer, obviously we're not actually going to be testing it. But let's pull up the Smart Notebook file here that Miss Wesley used in class today. Just a second here. All right, so if we look here, okay, let's take a look at this. So you've got 3 mixtures here. Okay, we got mixture A, B, and C. So this is A, B, and C. Which 2 do you think are going to taste the same? Okay, you're right. You're going to say B and C are going to taste the same because they look like the same color. So this one probably has more flavor mix in it. So if we go back one, we can see that for this one, we used a cup of water, 2 scoops of Kool-Aid. This is like the instant Kool-Aid that doesn't have sugar in it or has the sugar pre-mixed. So this one did 1 cup. Okay, this one did 2 cups and then a cup and a cup. So if we take a look again at the mixtures, okay, it makes sense that this one's going to be stronger because it has more powder in it. It has a higher ratio of water to Kool-Aid powder. So if we take a look here, we can see that this cup has 2 cups of water and a half of a teaspoon of the Kool-Aid powder. Now this one's 1 cup, so 2 cut in half is 1, so 1 cup. And then they also cut the powder in half, so from a half a teaspoon to a quarter of a teaspoon, because this will be like 2/4 and 1/4, okay? And then we see over here that for 1 cup of water, they used 1.5 teaspoons of the Kool-Aid powder. So that's why this one's going to taste different. It's going to be stronger because it has more Kool-Aid powder per water. So the ratio is different here. These 2 have equivalent ratios. This one's a different ratio. So on our packet, it says which mixture tastes different. So you're going to say A is stronger than B and C. Okay, because again, B and C were not that strong. A was a lot stronger. Okay, so A is stronger than B and C. So now turn to the next page. So then we're looking at the question, and this has given us the recipe for each one of these. So again, this was A, B, C. Okay, so it says the first one, we had 1 cup of water. Oh, it says which of these recipes is for the stronger tasting mixture? Well, we could do double number lines for these. Okay, so this is going to be water. This is going to be Kool-Aid. Okay, so we have 1 cup, 2 cups, 1 cup. So water, we can have 0, 1, 2 cups of water. And then we talk about lots of teaspoons here. So with 2 cups of water, I had half of a teaspoon, which was also like 2/4, you could call it. And then for this one, we had 1 cup of water with 1/4 of a teaspoon. Okay, but then if you see this one, to do 1 cup of water, it's going to need 1.5 teaspoons. So that's how we know this one's stronger. Okay, because it's not an equivalent ratio. So that's how we can use our double number lines to compare. Because again, for this mixture, we wrote right here, this mixture we put here, this mixture. So now, what any of these mixtures taste exactly the same. So we've got 1 cup, 1.5 cups, 2 cups, teaspoons, 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 and sugar. So let's look at mixture A, has 2 cups of water. Let's actually do a couple number lines here. So we've got water, salt, sugar. So water, let's do 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2. And then we have some teaspoons here. So it looks like 1 cup of water is going to need 2 teaspoons. 1.5 cups needs 3 teaspoons. 2 cups makes 4. So far it's matching up. Because this is going to be 2, 3, 4 as far as teaspoons. So we lined up their water, 1, 1.5, 2. Teaspoons, 2, 3, 4. So as the water gets bigger, the salt gets bigger. Now we got to look at the sugar, and this looks a little different because there's no fractions here. Well, we know 0.25 is really 1/4. 0.2 is 2/10, which simplifies to 1/5. And then 0.125 is going to be 1/8. Okay. So now the 1 cup of water, the 2 teaspoons, this is going to be 1/8. This one's saying 1/5. And this is saying 1/4. Now we got to decide which one of these doesn't make sense down here. So 1/4 is the same thing as like 2/8. So does it make sense that you're going to have 1/8, 2/8, that you would have 1/5 in the middle? It doesn't make sense. So it's this mixture that tastes different because then it doesn't line up on our number line with the rest of them. So that was mixture B. Okay, does not taste the same. So that means that A and C taste the same because A has the same ratio because they're lined up on their double number line, so they're a complete ratio. So this is where we stopped for Monday, February 4th. So go ahead and hit pause or stop. This is a great place to write down all your notes, and then we're going to start for Tuesday, February 5th, the second part of this lesson.